It started with a noise. Not a scream, not even a cry, just the sterile hum of fluorescent lights, the kind that made your skin feel pale and unreal. Thomas had never liked hospitals. Even when he was just visiting his mother for routine checkups, the place clung to him like formaldehyde. Now he wasn't just visiting. He had checked himself in, voluntarily. For exhaustion, he told them. But that wasn't quite right. There were too many days he couldn't remember, too many moments where time blinked past him and left nothing but a headache. At first, he blamed overwork, screen time, the news. Then came the dreams, sterile hallways, flickering lights, voices calling his name from intercoms that no one else could hear. He hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night in weeks. The admitting nurse barely looked at him when he arrived. She clicked through her computer screen, her fingers never stopping. Observation only, room 314, follow the red line. There were no red lines. He wandered past nurses who didn't meet his eyes, past orderly carts without wheels, through wings that looked freshly painted but still smelled like mold. Room 314 was a windowless cube, bed, chair, table. A camera in the upper corner blinked red. He asked about the red line again. No one answered. The first night, he dreamed of a nurse sitting at the foot of his bed, her back to him. She didn't move, just breathed. When he blinked, she was gone. His chart read, "No overnight disturbances." The second night, the light flickered for hours. He asked the nurse about it in the morning. "There's no flicker," she said without looking up. "The bulbs were replaced last month." She handed him a different chart. This one said, "Patient stable, sleep uninterrupted." He stopped mentioning the flicker. Meals arrived with no warning and no choice. He asked for coffee. They gave him tea. He asked for someone to talk to. They gave him crossword puzzles. The other patients never spoke. They sat in common areas, staring at muted televisions or tracing patterns into their food with plastic forks. Some blinked too little. Some blinked too much. He caught a man in the mirror one morning who wasn't behind him when he turned around. His own reflection became unreliable. By the fifth day, the clock in his room had stopped at 3:14. No one came to fix it. He stared at it until it became a symbol of everything that had started to rot inside him. When the nurse finally arrived, she took his blood pressure and wrote something in her tablet. It didn't look like letters, just black shapes. He asked if he could go home. She smiled without showing teeth. Discharge pending further observation. He didn't know how long that meant. That night, he woke up to find his door open. The hallway outside was dark but filled with sound, footsteps, whispers, a distant lullaby playing too slowly. He stepped out and followed the sound, past closed doors and rooms where lights flickered like broken memories. He thought he saw a child's silhouette in one of them, but when he turned back, the hallway was gone. He tried to return to his room, but there were no numbers on the doors now, only symbols. Some looked like scribbles. Others resembled the ones the nurse had written on her tablet. He touched one of them and felt cold through the wall. He finally found his room by smell, that faint trace of institutional soap and plastic trays. But his bed was gone, replaced by a steel table with restraints. His chart was there, though. He opened it. Delusions intensifying, patient unaware of displacement, reality testing failed. He blinked, then again. The text was gone. The nurse arrived as he stood there. She was humming the lullaby now. "You shouldn't wander, Thomas," she said gently. "It's dangerous to leave your treatment incomplete." He didn't remember telling her his name. He begged to be discharged. He swore he was better. She nodded and said she would bring the forms, but she never did. The next day, there was a group session. The other patients sat in a circle. No one spoke. The facilitator wasn't facing them. He was looking at a blank wall and asking questions like, "Do you still believe this is your body?" And "What's the last thing you remember before arriving?" No one answered. Thomas didn't either. He didn't trust his voice. That night, he bit his tongue in his sleep. The blood tasted like copper and plastic. The nurse said he had no visible injury. The camera in his room now blinked green. He stopped trusting sleep. He paced at night. He wrote notes to himself and hid them, but they vanished by morning. Sometimes he woke up in different clothes. Once he woke up with shaved arms. Once he woke up with another patient's slippers. The nurse brought him a mirror to help ground him. His reflection blinked half a second too late. He tried smashing it. The nurse sedated him. When he awoke, the mirror was intact. Weeks passed, or hours, or maybe years. Time bent. His name felt like a jacket that didn't fit anymore. He tried to remember the city, his apartment, his friends, but they came in flashes like photographs of someone else's life. He found a note under his pillow one morning, in his handwriting. "This place is not a hospital." He laughed, he cried, he flushed it down the toilet. On what he believed to be a Sunday, the nurse came in with a clipboard. "You've improved," she said cheerfully. "We'll begin discharge protocol." He didn't believe her, but then the door opened. For the first time, it didn't lock behind her. He packed what little he had, a toothbrush, a journal with no writing, a pair of socks. He walked past the nurse's station. No one looked up. He walked past the common room, the same muted television, the same patients. One of them blinked once, very slowly, as if in warning. He reached the lobby. It looked different, cleaner, bright. A woman behind the glass smiled at him. "Thomas Blackwell?" she asked. He nodded. "You're free to go." He stepped outside. The air smelled wrong.